Have you ever felt that that nagging voice, that relentless inner voice telling you you're just not good enough no matter what you do? Or, you find yourself striving, right? Achieving success after success, maybe a promotion, a new milestone, a personal best even.
Yeah.
But that real deep contentment still feels, well, just out of reach.
It does, doesn't it? Like it's always just around the corner.
Exactly. And it's not really about external circumstances, is it? It's more like this quiet, persistent conflict just bubbling away inside you.
A feeling that you're constantly falling short. Like there's some invisible standard you just can't quite meet.
Yes, that's exactly.
And it's an incredibly common experience, that subtle but really powerful undercurrent that can just undermine even our biggest wins.
Yeah.
That feeling that happiness is somehow conditional. It depends on something you haven't quite become yet or something you haven't acquired. Always something more you need to be or do.
Oh, it's exhausting.
Yeah.
Truly exhausting.
It really is.
And that's precisely why today we're taking a deep dive into a topic that is, well, it feels absolutely foundational to our mental well-being, to genuine joy even.
Self-acceptance.
Self-acceptance. It's much more than just a buzzword, isn't it? It's really about recognizing and truly embracing who you are right now, in this moment.
Flaws, quirks, everything.
Flaws and all, yeah. Seeing that as the most, I guess, direct and honest path to lasting happiness, to inner peace.
And it's so important to clarify this right off the bat, that this isn't about complacency. It's not about just throwing in the towel and saying, oh, well.
Right. It's not about ignoring areas where you want to grow.
Quite the opposite, actually. Self-acceptance is more like building a stable, an unshakable foundation. And it's from that foundation that genuine, sustainable growth can actually happen.
Okay, so it enables growth rather than preventing it.
Exactly. It's about making peace with your current reality, the authentic you in the here and now, before you can truly, effectively try to change anything. You can't navigate a journey if you're constantly fighting the ground beneath your feet.
That's such a great analogy.
Yeah.
And a really important distinction, because I think a lot of people hear self-acceptance and think it means you just stop trying.
Right. That's a common misconception.
But like you said, it's the launch pad.
Yeah.
So for this deep dive, we've pulled together a really fascinating stack of sources for you. We've got everything from insightful expert psychological articles, rigorous theoretical reviews.
And also some really candid real-world discussions we found from online communities, forums, people talking about their own experiences.
Yeah, really raw stuff sometimes. So our mission is clear. We want to unpack what self-acceptance truly means, why it's so incredibly vital for your well-being.
And maybe most importantly, how you can actually cultivate it in your own life. Practical steps.
Exactly. We'll delve into the deep, sometimes surprising roots of self-criticism, explore the, frankly, dangers of conditional self-worth.
And then we'll shift gears. We'll get into those practical, actionable strategies you can start using today, right away, to build a more compassionate, more accepting relationship with yourself.
Get ready for some, maybe, surprising insights, too, into why our brains are actually wired the way they are when it comes to how we see ourselves.
Yeah, sometimes it feels like they work against us, doesn't it?
It really does. And we'll also look at how something as everyday as social media impacts that self-perception. Sometimes subtly, sometimes not so subtly.
Oh, yeah. And you might be surprised to learn why a really simple phrase, just 2 words actually, can be incredibly powerful, like a tool to stop a negative thought spiral and help you find some inner calm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's truly unpack this.
Yeah.
So let's begin right at the core. What is self-acceptance, really, at its heart? And why does it matter so fundamentally to our lives?
Well, digging into our sources, like insights from clinical psychologist Megan Markham, self-acceptance is defined as this kind of remarkable ability. It's about accepting both your strengths, the things you're good at, and your perceived faults. Or, as you put it nicely, your areas for growth. And doing that without harsh judgment.
Without beating yourself up about them.
Exactly. It's about being genuinely okay, maybe even content with who you are right now, embracing every single part of yourself.
Even the messy bits.
Especially the messy bits, the quirky habits, the things you might mistakenly see as flaws. It's that deep internal nod that says, yep, this is me, and that's okay.
That's okay. There are those words again.
There they are. And what's truly fascinating and often misunderstood is that point about complacency. It's absolutely not about throwing your hands up and saying, well, I'm perfect as I am. I don't need to change a thing.
Right, because that wouldn't feel authentic either for most people.
No. Instead, as other sources like Headway really emphasize, it's about acknowledging your present self, recognizing your current reality with clear eyes, and then, only then, choosing to evolve from that grounded place.
So acceptance first, then change.
Think about it. You can't really improve something if you're in a constant internal battle with its very existence.
Yeah, you're just fighting yourself, wasting energy.
Exactly. It's about making peace with who you are right now, which, maybe counterintuitively, is the very first, most essential step toward positive change, towards genuine, sustainable improvement. It's like laying the groundwork before you try to build anything.
That makes so much sense. Like you can't, build a new wing on a house if the foundation is crumbling.
Perfect analogy.
You absolutely have to stabilize what's there first. And when you do that, when you really embrace that foundation, well, the transformative power of self-acceptance starts to show up, doesn't it? Not just as a concept, but in real, tangible ways.
Absolutely. We see a clear, really compelling, positive link between happiness and perceived self-acceptance across loads of studies.
Oh, really? Like actual data?
Yeah. For instance, there was a significant study in Varanasi. It found that women who reported higher levels of perceived self-acceptance also reported significantly greater overall happiness.
Wow.
So it's not just a correlation. It really powerfully reinforces this idea that true, lasting happiness genuinely begins with self-acceptance. As Headway emphasizes, it's directly linked to profound inner peace and a lasting sense of fulfillment.
A peace that doesn't just disappear when things get tough.
Exactly. It's a peace that doesn't ebb and flow quite so dramatically with external circumstances. It's more internal, more stable.
So it's not just nice to have for happiness. It sounds like it's an absolute must-have for any kind of real inner peace.
That's how the sources frame it. Foundational.
And it impacts so much more than just, a fleeting good mood, right? It builds emotional well-being, resilience, helps us bounce back.
Yes. When you accept yourself more fully, you naturally tend to worry less about what other people think.
Because your own opinion starts to matter more.
Precisely. Your internal validation becomes primary, not secondary to external approval. And that reduced external focus is incredibly liberating.
I can imagine. Less pressure.
Huge pressure release. It allows you to view situations with much more clarity, more objectively. You're less likely to automatically internalize harsh criticism from others.
Because your sense of self isn't totally dependent on their opinion.
Exactly. Your worth isn't on the line with every comment. This makes you feel much more confident, more capable when handling life's inevitable challenges.
Right.
When you're not constantly battling yourself internally, all that energy is freed up. You can then use it to make positive, strategic changes that genuinely support your growth and align with your actual values.
Instead of just fighting fires inside your own head.
Precisely. Self-acceptance makes you feel truly capable of dealing with whatever life throws your way. It becomes this internal resource you can draw upon, like a deep well of strength.
And crucially, this internal shift, it must spill over into our relationships too.
Oh, definitely. This is where it gets really transformative for many people. Because embracing yourself fully means you can finally start to let go of that exhausting, often suffocating need for constant external approval, or trying to live up to some impossible, unrealistic expectation of who you should be.
They're shoulds, they're killers.
Or are they just? And what's really fascinating here is how this fundamental shift allows for far more authentic, genuine relationships.
You're showing up as you.
Exactly.
There.
When you no longer feel you have to hide parts of yourself to fit in or present this carefully curated, perfect image, well, you create space to connect with others from a place of real honesty. Deep vulnerability, even.
And that's where the real connection happens.
That's the path to deeper, far more meaningful social connections, built on trust and true understanding rather than, superficial agreement or a shared facade. Imagine the relief.
The relief of just being yourself and being accepted or even loved for it. Yeah. Powerful. But, okay. As we all know, there's often a persistent, sometimes very loud voice that makes this whole idea of self-acceptance feel incredibly difficult, maybe even impossible sometimes.
Ah, yes, the inner critic.
The inner critic. Let's really confront that voice head on. What is self-criticism at its most basic level?
Well, at its core, it's that negative self-talk, isn't it? Those cruel, often relentless voices inside our own heads. It's that internal monologue insisting, I'm not good enough, or people don't really like me, or I always mess things up, that kind of thing.
Yeah, the greatest hits of self-doubt.
Exactly. And the profoundly challenging part is that it's often so ingrained. It's automatic, unintentional, almost like a background program that just keeps running.
Like a default setting.
Yeah, like a default setting for our internal commentary.
Right.
Which makes it incredibly difficult to consciously control sometimes.
And it sounds so harsh, so damaging, it makes us feel terrible. But where does it even come from? Like, does it serve a purpose initially? It's hard to imagine something so destructive having a positive origin story.
That's a really important and honestly surprising question, isn't it? Our sources explain that the inner critic, despite how harsh it feels now, actually developed way back when to protect you.
Protect me.
From perceived threats in your past. Think of it, weirdly enough, as a kind of internal drill sergeant that emerged when you were younger. It was trying to keep you in line, to help you avoid further pain.
Pain like what?
Like perceived failure, humiliation, or maybe the devastating loss of love or important relationships. It's deeply connected to the brain's fundamental hardwiring for survival.
Okay.
Our brains, fundamentally, are wired to seek safety and avoid pain. That's their prime directive, really. So, based on past experiences and learned coping mechanisms, they instinctively choose the path they perceive as causing the least harm.
Even if that path involves yelling at ourselves.
Even then. Understanding this helps us recognize that everyone, at every stage in their life is genuinely doing their best with how their brain is currently wired, even if that wiring has led to unhelpful patterns like the inner critic. It was a defense mechanism designed for a perhaps more dangerous world or perceived dangers in childhood, and now it's just a bit overzealous.
Wow. Okay, that reframes it entirely. It was trying to help, but it's using these outdated, damaging methods now, like a well-meaning but completely misguided old piece of software.
That's a great way to put it.
And the consequences of this persistent lack of self-acceptance, fueled by that critic, they're really profound, aren't they?
Yeah.
Reaching far beyond just feeling bad about yourself.
Oh, absolutely. Harvard Medical School highlights that it can be truly detrimental to both your physical health and your overall psychological well-being.
Physical health, too.
Yes. The research paints a very clear and frankly concerning picture. For example, studies show that chronically low self-esteem and a persistently negative view of oneself are linked to lower levels of gray matter in key brain regions.
Gray matter. Like the brain tissue itself.
Exactly. Specifically in regions that regulate emotions and stress. Gray matter is essentially the processing center of our brain thinking, emotion, muscle control. So, lower levels there aren't just about feeling bad. It suggests a literal, measurable impact on our brain's actual ability to cope with emotional challenges and regulate stress.
Wow, so it physically changes the brain.
The correlation is strong. And this, in turn, increases your actual risk of developing emotional disorders and various stress-related conditions. It makes you more vulnerable.
So it's not just a feeling, it has a physiological impact, making us more susceptible to distress. That's really significant.
It is. And this impact isn't isolated either. Without that foundation of self-acceptance, individuals essentially devalue themselves. And this self-devaluation then cascades outwards, creating negative impacts across virtually all areas of life.
Like dominoes falling.
Pretty much. We're talking tangible effects on your performance at work, the quality and depth of your friendships, the dynamics within your family relationships, and even your overall physical health. It's pervasive. It erodes well-being on multiple fronts.
And it can manifest in some really serious ways, can't it?
Yeah.
Pointing to direct mental health risks.
Definitely. A chronic lack of self-acceptance is clearly linked to and can definitely exacerbate mental health conditions like depression, generalized anxiety disorder, or even PTSD in certain contexts.
How does that show up in daily life?
Well, it can lead to debilitating low self-confidence, a paralyzing fear of failure that stops you from even trying new things.
Right, the why bother feeling.
Exactly, and the avoidance of situations or people that might trigger those negative feelings or perceived judgment. You start shrinking your world.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, and crucially, it often results in relationship issues, often stemming from poor boundaries, because if you don't value yourself enough, it's hard to set and enforce those limits effectively.
That makes sense. You don't feel you deserve to.
And, of course, it manifests as self-hatred, which is often expressed through that constant, insidious, negative self-talk we were just discussing. It becomes this vicious cycle that can be incredibly difficult to break without understanding its roots and actively working to reframe that internal narrative.
Okay, so much of what we're talking about seems to circle back to this core concept of self-worth. Let's really dive deeper into that. It sounds like it's a critical psychological resource, almost like a fundamental pillar of our mental architecture.
Indeed. It really is. Self-worth is universally considered a crucial factor in human mental health and our psychosocial development.
How crucial.
Well, in clinical psychology, a consistently low level of self-worth is actually seen as an indicator of psychopathology, basically a marker of significant psychological distress or even a potential mental disorder.
Wow.
Conversely, a high level of self-worth is a strong indicator of positive mental health, resilience, good coping skills. It's so fundamental to our internal equilibrium that enhancing self-worth is consistently one of the most important goals across virtually all forms of psychotherapy.
That makes perfect sense. It's like the bedrock upon which so much else is built. But to really get our heads around self-worth, we first need to understand what we mean by the self. Our sources break it down into two fascinating parts that are always kind of talking to each other.
Yes, it's a really helpful framework. There's what's sometimes called the knowing self, or the I. This is the subjective part of you, the conscious observer, the internal narrator, the one who sees and knows.
Okay, the I is the witness.
Kind of, yeah. And then there's the known self, or the me. This is the objective part, the object being seen and evaluated. This is your physical body, your personality traits, your achievements, your social roles, essentially, the character in your life story.
The me is the character being observed by the I.
Precisely. And our objective self, that me, is constantly subject to evaluations by our subjective self, that I. This ongoing internal process, this dialogue, is exactly what leads to those internal conclusions about whether we see ourselves as valuable or not valuable.
So my I is telling stories about my me, and those stories determine my sense of worth. Okay. And this brings us straight to the dangers of conditional self-worth. This is where things can really go sideways, right?
Absolutely sideways. Conditional self-worth essentially dictates that an individual considers themselves valuable only if certain conditions are met. It's like your worth is always on probation.
A constant proving ground.
Exactly. And these conditions are incredibly varied, often quite insidious. They can be anything from, I am only valuable if I'm intelligent, or I am only worthy if I am beautiful or handsome, to my worth depends on if I am wealthy.
Or successful or popular.
All of those. And the specific conditions, what researchers call contingencies, vary wildly based on an individual's unique environment, their upbringing, their culture, and their deep-seated cognitive schemas, those mental filters we use to interpret the world and ourselves.
Right. So these are the often unstated rules we live by, the if-then statements that govern our self-worth. What are some of these common contingencies of self-worth that research has identified? Are there typical ones?
Yeah, Crocker and colleagues back in 2003 identified several really pervasive ones that many people subconsciously adopt. These include things like seeking approval from others, needing people to like you.
That's a big one.
Huge. Believing your worth hinges on family support or success in competition, your physical appearance, academic competence, even things like God's love or being seen as virtuous.
Okay.
What's particularly striking and frankly quite exhausting to even think about is that some individuals tie their self-worth directly to being better than others.
Oof, that sounds like a recipe for misery. A constant, unwinnable race.
It really is. A perpetual comparison that offers no real lasting victory. And what about the self-worth motivation theory in this context? How does that fit in?
Right. How does motivation play into this?
Well, that theory suggests our sense of worth is often intrinsically linked to our perceived success and personal motivation. So you might feel a surge of worthiness when you achieve a goal you've set, right?
Makes sense. Accomplishment feels good.
It does. However, and this is the critical drawback, if you fail to achieve a motivated goal, one you've poured effort and maybe even part of your identity into, it can significantly lower your self-worth. Devastatingly so sometimes.
Because the condition wasn't met.
Exactly. What's more, if you focus only on your innate abilities, like I'm just naturally smart, without acknowledging the crucial role of effort, particularly when you're young, it can lead to intense feelings of humiliation and regret when you don't instantly succeed.
Because if you're naturally good, failure means something is fundamentally wrong with you.
Precisely. It sets up this unfair expectation that worth only comes from effortless victory, which is rarely how life actually works.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. It's not just about the outcome, but how we frame the effort in the process. And this entire psychological structure where self-worth is built on these conditions and comparisons, it just sounds incredibly fragile, like a house of cards.
It absolutely is. This structure, precariously built on comparisons with others and external achievements, inherently makes self-worth fragile, deeply unstable.
Like unstable.
Because the external world is always changing. Approval comes and goes, success isn't guaranteed, looks fade. If your worth depends on those things, it's constantly fluctuating. This inherent instability can leave individuals highly vulnerable to conditions like depression, anxiety.
Because their emotional well-being is basically at the mercy of things they can't fully control.
Exactly. Our sources illustrate this as a cycle of contingencies of self-worth. It's this reinforcing loop that can be incredibly difficult to escape.
The cycle. Okay, tell us more about that. How does it keep going?
Well, it's a self-reinforcing loop, almost like a psychological trap. Conditional self-worth, that belief, I'm only worthy if X happens, can lead directly to low self-efficacy.
Self-efficacy.
Good.
That's your belief in your own ability to succeed, right?
Exactly, your belief in your competence. So if your worth is conditional and you experience a setback, which is inevitable, your self-efficacy can plummet.
See? I knew I couldn't do it. I'm not worthy.
Precisely that kind of thinking. This, in turn, can lead to lower self-esteem, that general feeling of self-regard. Lower self-esteem then often feeds into low motivation. Because if you don't feel worthy or capable, why would you even bother trying?
It feels pointless.
Hopeless, maybe. Right. And this lack of motivation then further reinforces your reliance on those external conditions for any shred of self-worth. You get trapped in this loop where you constantly need external validation or specific achievements to feel okay about yourself.
Making genuine internal happiness feel perpetually out of reach, like you're always chasing it.
Always chasing. It sounds utterly exhausting and completely disempowering, doesn't it? Like being stuck on a hamster wheel that never leads anywhere satisfying.
Totally. So what's the alternative? What is the promise of unconditional self-worth?
Yes. The counter concept. And it's truly liberating when you grasp it. Unconditional self-worth suggests that every single individual is inherently valuable simply by being human. Full stop.
Regardless of anything else.
Regardless of external achievements, failures, the approval or disapproval of others, your authentic existence is in itself sufficient for you to be considered worthy.
Wow. That's radical almost.
It can feel that way, especially in our culture. This perspective, deeply rooted in humanistic thought, emphasized by thinkers like Carl Rogers, stresses that you don't need to be better than others or even achieve anything specific to be considered worthy. Your worth is intrinsic.
It just is.
It just is. And adopting an unconditional perspective on one's self-worth can lead to a significant, profound increase in stable self-worth and genuine inner freedom.
So it's not about earning your worth. It's about recognizing you already possess it, simply by existing. That's a huge shift in mindset, especially, like you said, in a world that constantly tells us we need to achieve or acquire to be enough.
It's a fundamental shift.
And it seems like a lack of this unconditional self-worth is deeply connected to specific, often quite severe mental health issues.
The link is undeniable, yes. Take eating disorders, for instance. Individuals grappling with conditions like anorexia, bulimia, or binge eating disorder often exhibit significantly low levels of self-worth.
And how does that connect?
That self-worth is, almost universally in these cases, heavily reliant on physical appearance. Things like beauty, thinness, or muscularity become the primary conditions for feeling valuable. Our sources highlight how an excessive, almost singular focus on physical appearance as the main source of self-worth can contribute directly to the development and the perpetuation of these devastating disorders.
Their entire internal value gets tied to an external, often unattainable physical ideal.
Exactly. It's a tragic manifestation of conditional self-worth.
That's a powerful and heartbreaking connection. And what about narcissism? That seems like it would be related, but maybe in a very different way, almost like a distorted reflection of self-worth.
It's a fascinating and complex contrast, you're right. Narcissistic individuals might display what appears on the surface to be immense confidence, seemingly high self-esteem.
Yeah, they often project superiority.
They do. However, our sources clarify that this is often, maybe usually, a counterfeit self-confidence. Their self-worth is, in fact, deeply contingent, reliant on external factors, and, critically, on being perceived as better than others.
There's that contingency again. Better than others.
Yes. This reliance on external validation leads to constant comparison, immense internal tension, and an inherently unstable self-worth perception.
So it's a facade. They project strength and superiority, but inside they're constantly comparing and desperately needing that external validation to prop up their fragile sense of self.
Precisely. Their internal world is often marked by these conflicting states, a grandiose yet precarious self-image on one hand, and deep-seated self-hatred or insecurity on the other. which often fuels their narcissistic behaviors, the need to put others down, the entitlement, the lack of empathy. They constantly need external approval, admiration, validation, and a lack of positive feedback or even perceived criticism can severely damage their already precarious self-worth, often leading to rage or collapse.
It sounds like a very precarious foundation indeed. Built on sand, not solid ground.
That's a perfect description.
Okay, so now that we've laid out the foundations of self-acceptance, wrestled with that inner critic, and really seen the dangers of conditional self-worth, let's get into the truly actionable stuff. What are some practical, tangible strategies we can use to cultivate self-acceptance and, crucially, self-kindness in our daily lives?
Yes, the how-to.
Let's start with this idea of giving yourself grace. Sounds lovely, but what does it really mean in practice?
This is such a crucial first step, and it ties right back to our chat about the inner critic being automatic. We know that self-critical thinking is often deeply ingrained, almost like a reflex, right?
Oh yeah, default mode for many.
So instead of putting immense pressure on yourself to immediately control it or silence it, which ironically can often backfire.
Leading to criticizing yourself for being self-critical.
Exactly, that horrible spiral. The key is to practice gentleness. Think of it as gently loosening a tight grip rather than trying to wrestle it into submission.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gentle. How?
Remember that your inner critic, way back when, developed to protect you. It's like that overzealous security guard we talked about.
Right. Misguided, but trying to help.
So a really powerful technique recommended by experts is to actually pause, acknowledge that critical voice when it pops up, and literally thank it for trying to protect you.
Thank it, really?
You might say internally, "Thank you, inner critic. I know you're trying to keep me safe from failure or judgment, but your services aren't needed right now." And then firmly, but gently, tell it that its current methods aren't actually serving your highest good anymore.
So you acknowledge its past role, but assert your present needs.
Exactly. It's like saying, "I appreciate the thought, the intention, but I've got this now. I'm driving." It acknowledges without validating the harshness.
That's such a clever reframe. Okay, so once you've given it that grace, that initial acknowledgement, how do you directly engage with it? How do you really talk back to it rather than just letting it run wild?
Right. Because sometimes just thanking it isn't enough. When that negative self-talk starts, as one source puts it, yapping or spiraling.
Yeah, yapping is a good word for it.
Actively engage with it. Don't just passively listen and absorb it. One highly effective technique is to directly tell it to disappear, to stop, to quiet down.
Like literally say stop.
Internally, or even out loud if you're alone, stop. This isn't helpful.
Yeah.
Or recognize its deceptive nature. Actively tell yourself, "This thought is a liar, it's distorted, I won't listen to it."
Challenge its validity.
Exactly. And a particularly helpful and surprisingly powerful strategy is to give your inner critic a distinct name.
A name. That's what.
Make it something a little silly, maybe? Or even a bit formal to create distance, like Professor Naggington or Regina George or Mr. Doom and Gloom, whatever resonates.
Oh, okay.
This simple action diminishes its power significantly because you externalize it. You separate its identity from your true self. When you name it, it's no longer your voice. It's its voice. And that makes it much easier to challenge, dismiss, and ultimately reduce its negative influence. It creates critical distance.
I love that. Giving it a silly name totally deflates its authority.
Yeah.
It makes it less personal, less you. It sounds like that two-word phrase you mentioned earlier, "it's okay," could fit in here too, right? As part of talking back.
Absolutely. Those two words, "it's okay," are incredibly powerful precisely because they activate a sense of calming and acceptance in the brain. When your inner critic is spiraling, saying, "It's okay" to yourself.
Like, it's okay that I made a mistake.
Exactly. Or, "It's okay that I feel this way. It's okay that I'm not perfect." It sends a direct signal to your nervous system. It helps interrupt that fight or flight response the critic often triggers.
So it calms the nervous system.
Yes. And instead, it fosters a sense of safety, permission to just be human. It's like a microdose of self-compassion that disarms the critic by removing the perceived threat or the badness of the situation. It's a profoundly simple tool to just pause, breathe, and allow.
That's amazing how just two words can have such a deep physiological and psychological impact. Okay. Now, beyond addressing the critic directly, how do we shift our overall mindset? What about embracing imperfection and authenticity rather than constantly chasing some elusive ideal?
This is so incredibly important for long-term well-being. That relentless striving for perfection, as we've seen, just creates unnecessary stress. It leads to chronic self-criticism, and it sets us up for inevitable disappointment because perfection isn't attainable.
It's a myth.
It really is. Instead, the focus should consciously shift towards embracing your imperfections and actively practicing self-compassion when you fall short. Recognize that mistakes are not catastrophic failures. They are, in fact, invaluable opportunities for growth and learning. Every misstep holds a lesson if you look for it.
So it's about shifting from a perfection or bust mentality to more of a growth mindset, valuing progress over flawless execution.
Precisely. Letting go of those unrealistic expectations frees you from the crushing burden of perfectionism. And this mental liberation allows you to focus your energy on genuine progress, on consistent self-care, and on developing healthy coping mechanisms for when things inevitably don't go as planned.
Which they often don't.
And central to this, really, is the concept of vulnerability. It's terrifying for many people I know.
It really is.
But allowing yourself to be vulnerable, to show up as your authentic, imperfect self, it actually allows us to face challenges with greater courage, and it fosters deeper, far more meaningful connections with others.
Because you're showing your true human self, not a polished facade.
Exactly. It breeds empathy, both for yourself and from others. It's where real connection happens.
That's a big one. Vulnerability. Hard, but crucial. Now, what about daily practices? What small, consistent steps can we take to proactively boost happiness and self-acceptance in our everyday lives? Tiny things we can do.
Yeah, the small things add up enormously. The sources highlight the immense power of taking immediate action, even if it's just a tiny step, and then maintaining consistency over time.
Consistency is key.
It really is. As the spiritual teacher Eckhart Tolle wisely noted, any action is often better than no action. If it is a mistake, at least you learn something. It's about breaking inertia, building momentum, even with micro habits.
So don't wait for the perfect moment or some grand, detailed plan.
No. Just start. For example, if you want to be more accepting of your body, maybe start with just 1 minute of mindful breathing while acknowledging your body without judgment. It's a small step, but it's action. It builds.
Okay. Small actions consistently. What else?
Secondly, cultivating a positive mindset is absolutely key. Now, this isn't about toxic positivity or ignoring challenges.
Right. Not pretending everything's perfect.
No. It's about consciously focusing on the positive aspects of your life. Gratitude helps here, and actively reframing challenges as opportunities for growth. Instead of thinking this is a disaster, ask, what can I learn from this? This intentional effort, this mental habit, reinforces optimism and literally reshapes your internal narrative over time.
Training the brain to see things differently.
Exactly. Thirdly, effective time management, particularly how you manage your free time, is strongly associated with a higher quality of life.
Really? How you manage downtime.
Yes. When you intentionally structure your leisure time, dedicating it to activities that genuinely rejuvenate and fulfill you, rather than just passively scrolling or zoning out, you feel more in control, more satisfied, which in turn boosts self-acceptance.
Interesting. Makes sense. And fourth.
And finally, embracing a mindset of continuous growth and learning. Just staying curious about the world and your place in it. This keeps you adaptable, open to new experiences, and significantly enhances your resilience and your sense of competence. Learning new things feels good.
It sounds like a really holistic approach, affecting everything from how we spend our time to how we frame our thoughts. And speaking of environments, what about finding positivity outside yourself? Our surroundings play a huge role, don't they?
They play a monumental role.
Yeah.
This involves being incredibly deliberate, really intentional in what and whom you surround yourself with.
Like curating your life.
Kind of. Actively avoid things that consistently make you feel bad, drain your energy, or drag you down emotionally. This might mean muting certain social media accounts, saying no more often to draining commitments, or even reducing exposure to certain relentlessly negative news cycles.
Protecting your energy.
Exactly. And then, on the flip side, actively seek out positive and uplifting activities and people. For example, maybe swap the doom and gloom documentaries for comedies that make you genuinely laugh. Seek out friends who truly encourage you, who celebrate your successes, who offer constructive support rather than constant critique.
Choose your tribe wisely.
Absolutely. This conscious curation of your environment can gradually but profoundly help shift your inner voice to match a more positive external reality. It creates a virtuous feedback loop. Your inner world reflects your outer world, and vice versa.
That makes so much sense.
Yeah.
Our external world truly does influence our internal one, often more than we realize. And, okay, you mentioned social media. That's such a pervasive part of many people's daily lives, and it's often a major source of comparison and self-criticism, isn't it?
You've hit on a critical point there. Research consistently suggests that excessive, or maybe more accurately, uncurated social media use can lead directly to social comparison, feelings of inadequacy, and ultimately decreased life satisfaction. It's designed to do that sometimes.
So what's the advice? Just quit.
Well, the recommendation is straightforward, though sometimes requires a bit of digital discipline. If specific apps or the content you see there tend to make you feel less than great about yourself, genuinely consider deleting or restricting them, even just temporarily, to see how it feels.
Digital detox.
Could be. But beyond that, implement firm boundaries. Unfollow, mute, or actively hide any accounts or content that consistently triggers negative self-talk, envy, or comparison in you. It's about taking back control of your digital space and curating it for your psychological well-being, rather than letting algorithms dictate your self-perception.
That's a tough but incredibly necessary step for many, I think. A kind of digital decluttering for your mental health.
Oh.
Okay. And what about focusing on kindness to others? How does that seemingly external act loop back to improving our internal self-acceptance?
It's a fascinating connection, isn't it? There's a remarkably strong and well-documented link between acts of kindness towards others and improved self-esteem and self-acceptance in oneself.
Doing good makes you feel good about yourself.
Yes, essentially, yes. Whether it's joining a volunteer group, offering help to a neighbor, or simply performing small, random acts of kindness, holding a door, giving a genuine compliment, letting someone merge in traffic, the benefits to your own self-concept are significant and often quite lasting.
Why do you think that is?
Well, when you are actively contributing positively to the world, even in small ways, it's difficult, almost psychologically impossible, to simultaneously view yourself through a purely critical and judgmental lens. Your focus shifts
From your own perceived flaws.
to your capacity for positive impact and connection. You see yourself reflected in your actions as someone who does good, which fundamentally shifts how your knowing self, your internal observer, perceives your known self, your character. It builds evidence against the inner critic.
That's a powerful, almost built-in positive feedback loop. Okay, what other practical steps can we take to really solidify this foundation of self-acceptance?
Embracing your values and setting healthy boundaries are absolutely fundamental here, really foundational.
Values and boundaries. Tell me more.
It's essential to take the time to identify, articulate, and truly embrace your personal values, your core beliefs. What principles are most important to you? Integrity, kindness, creativity, courage, justice.
Knowing what you stand for.
Exactly, because when you act in line with these deeply held values, it profoundly strengthens your sense of identity and self-respect. It makes self-acceptance much, much easier because you're living authentically. You feel aligned.
Right. Less internal conflict.
Precisely. And alongside that, setting healthy boundaries in all aspects of your life, work, relationships, your time, even your finances. Consistently sticking to these limits prevents mistreatment from others, sure, but crucially, it helps you maintain self-respect.
How does it help self-respect?
Because it sends a clear, powerful message to yourself that you are worthy of respect, that your needs matter, that you will protect your own well-being. Every time you uphold a boundary, you reinforce your own value.
So it's about defining who you are and what you stand for, then protecting that.
Yeah.
Fiercely but kindly. Okay, what about when we inevitably make mistakes? Because we all do, all the time. How do we practice forgiving ourselves and avoid that debilitating self-blame cycle?
Ah, yes. Self-forgiveness. This is a vital part of self-acceptance, maybe one of the hardest parts for some. When you make a mistake, and as you said, we all do, the first step is to acknowledge it, own it, learn from it, but then, critically, resist the urge to berate yourself repeatedly.
Stop replaying it endlessly in your mind.
Yes. Stop the mental flagellation. Practice self-forgiveness as you would, hopefully, forgive a dear friend who messed up. Remind yourself that you did the best you could with the information, the skills, the emotional state you had at that time.
Hindsight is 20/20, right?
Exactly. It's also vital to recognize that you are rarely the sole cause of all negative situations. Objectively evaluate other contributing factors, external circumstances, other people's actions, just plain bad luck sometimes. This helps avoid excessive, inaccurate self-blame.
Taking responsibility without taking all the blame.
Precisely. It prevents getting stuck in that debilitating shame spiral that can just cripple your motivation and shred your self-worth.
Journaling and reflection seem like they could be really useful tools for this kind of self-awareness and processing.
Absolutely. Highly recommended by many experts. Maintaining a journal where you can candidly record your strengths, your accomplishments, big and small, your weaknesses or areas for growth, your disappointments, your insights, it's incredibly helpful.
How does it help specifically?
This consistent practice helps you process complex thoughts and emotions safely. It helps clarify your values over time. It lets you identify patterns in your behavior, both helpful and unhelpful ones. And it helps pinpoint areas for future change, but without the harsh judgment you might apply in the moment.
Like having a non-judgmental witness to your thoughts.
Exactly. It creates a private, safe space for honest self-assessment and deep reflection. It helps you see yourself more clearly and often more compassionately over time.
Okay. And what about creative outlets and meaningful conversations? How do those contribute to building self-acceptance?
Both are really powerful. Engaging in creative activities, whether it's drawing, writing poetry, playing music, knitting, gardening, even just doodling, allows you to express yourself in non-judgmental ways.
The outcome doesn't have to be good.
Exactly. It's about the process. It taps into a different part of your brain, can be incredibly therapeutic, and brings a genuine sense of joy and accomplishment separate from external validation. And equally important is seeking out deep, meaningful conversations.
With who?
With trusted loved ones, friends, mentors, people you feel safe with. Sharing your experiences, your fears, your hopes in that safe space fosters connection, understanding. It helps you clarify what truly matters to you.
And helps you feel less alone.
Absolutely. These interactions allow you to see yourself through different, often kinder eyes, and to realize you're definitely not alone in your struggles or your imperfections. These are all ways to nurture and express your authentic self.
These strategies sound incredibly helpful, really practical and truly holistic, covering so many different angles, and they lead us right into another profound concept that feels so intertwined with self-acceptance, almost like its fraternal twin, maybe.
Ah, you must mean self-compassion.
Self-compassion, exactly. This isn't just about being nice to yourself, is it? Or letting yourself off the hook. It feels like it goes much deeper.
Oh, it goes far deeper than mere self-indulgence, or, importantly, self-pity. Self-compassion, as brilliantly defined by the leading researcher Dr. Kristen Neff.
Yeah, her work is fantastic.
Isn't it? She defines it as actively accepting yourself and showing yourself profound self-kindness, especially in the face of mistakes, perceived failures, and personal pain, when you're hurting.
So it's kindness when you need it most.
Exactly. And it's absolutely crucial to distinguish it from self-pity. Self-pity tends to exaggerate personal problems, makes you feel isolated, gets you stuck wallowing in negative emotion, and completely forgets the shared human experience of suffering.
Right. Self-pity feels isolating.
It does. Self-compassion, in contrast, recognizes that suffering and imperfection are universal. It connects us.
So it's a very specific, deliberate way of relating to ourselves when things are tough. What are the key components of this self-compassion, according to Dr. Neff's model?
Neff's model outlines 3 core interconnected elements. They work together. First, there's self-kindness. This means actively treating yourself with warmth, understanding, and patience, rather than automatically resorting to harsh self-criticism. When you're struggling, instead of beating yourself up, you respond to your own pain with kindness, just as you would ideally to a dear friend who is suffering.
You soothe yourself rather than attacking yourself.
Precisely. It's a powerful, intentional shift from that inner critic we talked about. It's actively choosing a different internal response pathway.
Okay, self-kindness. What's the second element?
The second component is common humanity. This is huge. It's about recognizing that suffering, imperfection, and making mistakes are not unique personal failings that single you out.
They don't mean something is uniquely wrong with me.
Exactly. They are universal human experiences. Everyone struggles. Everyone feels inadequate sometimes. Everyone falls short. This perspective connects us rather than isolating us. It helps put your own problems into a broader perspective, reminding you that you are not alone in your struggles.
It reduces that feeling of shame and isolation.
Immensely. It's not poor me. It's more like, this is part of being human. This is hard for everyone sometimes.
Right, we're all in this messy human thing together. That immediately takes the sting out of personal failure, doesn't it?
It really does. And the third crucial component is mindfulness.
Mindfulness. How does that fit in?
This involves being aware of your present moment, experience your thoughts, your feelings, your physical sensations in a clear, balanced way. It means observing them without judgment.
Not getting carried away by them.
Exactly. Without ignoring or suppressing them, but also without ruminating or getting overly identified with the disliked aspects of yourself or your life. Mindfulness prevents you from getting swept away by negative thoughts and emotions. It allows you to simply observe them as they arise and pass, like clouds in the sky. This creates space for a more balanced perspective.
So kindness towards the feeling, recognizing everyone feels this way sometimes, and observing it without getting lost in it.
You've got it. Those are the three pillars working together.
So self-compassion acts as a protective factor then, almost like a shield, or maybe an internal shock absorber against the negative impacts of self-criticism and life's inevitable setbacks.
It absolutely does. The research is very clear on this. Self-compassion acts as a significant protective factor against those very common pitfalls of low self-esteem and the low motivation that often arise from feelings of inadequacy.
How is it different from just having high self-esteem?
That's a key distinction. Unlike traditional self-esteem, which can sometimes rely on feeling superior or successful compared to others, or needing external validation, self-compassion provides a much more stable and resilient foundation of positive self-regard. It doesn't depend on external circumstances as much.
Stability. That sounds crucial.
It is. It literally helps activate the self-soothing and attachment systems in our brain, the systems designed to make us feel safe, calm, and connected. This reduces feelings of anxiety and isolation, particularly when we face our personal inadequacies or perceived shortcomings.
So it's not about needing to be better than anyone. It's about being okay as I am, flaws and struggles included, regardless of external metrics. That sounds like a huge benefit, a stable sense of self-worth that isn't easily knocked off course by life's ups and downs.
Indeed. It's a profound internal shift. Research consistently shows that self-compassionate individuals experience less anxiety after tasks that specifically highlight their weaknesses.
Wow. Less anxiety even when confronted with flaws.
Yes. They also tend to use less isolating language when describing their struggles, more we and less I, and they're remarkably less affected by neutral or even mildly critical feedback. They don't take it quite so personally.
Because their worth isn't solely on the line.
Exactly. And crucially, self-compassion strongly predicts self-worth stability, meaning your sense of self-worth is significantly less likely to fluctuate dramatically based on external circumstances or outcomes. It negatively predicts contingent self-worth, that unstable, condition-dependent self-worth we dissected earlier.
So it directly counters that fragile house of cards.
It does. Moreover, self-compassionate individuals are also less likely to compare themselves unfavorably to others, less likely to get angry at others for perceived offenses, and less likely to engage in self-rumination, that persistent, cyclical, negative thinking. It just fosters a much healthier, more peaceful internal environment overall.
This all sounds incredibly beneficial, almost like a superpower for mental well-being, honestly.
Yeah.
But what if someone feels they really lack self-compassion? Maybe because of past experiences, a critical upbringing? Is it something that can be developed and learned? Or is it more like an innate trait you either have or don't?
Oh, absolutely. It's a skill that can be learned and cultivated, much like playing an instrument or learning a language. It takes practice, but it's definitely learnable.
That's really good news.
It is. Our sources note that people who deeply lack self-compassion may often have experienced critical upbringings or perhaps insecure attachment patterns in their early lives, which can kind of hardwire them towards self-criticism as a default.
Makes sense. It's a learned pattern.
Yes. But this actually suggests that actively developing self-compassion can be particularly beneficial, even truly transformative for them. It helps to consciously rewire those old patterns.
How? Are there specific ways to learn it?
Yes. There are guided meditations, exercises, and even specialized therapeutic interventions. Things like compassionate mind training, or CMT, specifically designed by clinicians to help individuals develop and strengthen self-compassion skills, especially when their habitual way of relating to themselves involves a lot of self-attack. It's a process, for sure, but it's entirely within reach for anyone willing to practice.
That's really encouraging to hear, offering hope that these deeply ingrained patterns can indeed be shifted with intention and practice. Okay, so beyond these personal practices like mindfulness and journaling and specific therapies like CMT, are there broader, maybe more structured interventions or activities that research shows can enhance self-worth and foster self-acceptance?
Yes, definitely. A key area for intervention involves cognitive regulation and various established therapeutic approaches.
Like CBT.
Exactly. Techniques derived from cognitive therapy, cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, and rational emotive behavior therapy, REBT, are commonly employed and very effective for many.
How do they help with self-worth specifically?
Fundamentally, these therapies work by helping you first identify and then challenge those irrational, unhelpful, automatic negative thought patterns that consistently undermine your self-worth. They teach you to catch the thoughts.
Become aware of the inner critic script.
Precisely. Then they guide you in systematically questioning and replacing those thoughts with more balanced, realistic, and compassionate perspectives, intervening in an individual's self-worth perception to transform it into a healthier, more stable structure is crucial for reducing psychopathology. And it's a core focus, especially considering its immense importance in major developmental theories like psychoanalytic theory and attachment theory, which really emphasize how our early experiences shape our fundamental sense of self and connection.
So therapy can literally help rewire those self-worth pathways, building a more resilient internal architecture. What about other, perhaps less conventional methods that research has supported? Anything else that helps?
Interestingly, yes. Physical activity has been consistently shown to significantly increase self-worth.
Exercise. How does that work?
It's not just about weight loss or physical appearance, though that can play a role for some. It's more about the sense of accomplishment, the feeling of mastery, the improved mood that comes with movement, the discipline involved. Studies with women and even intervention programs designed specifically for obese children have demonstrated clear positive outcomes on self-worth from incorporating regular exercise.
So it's the feeling of competence and the mood boost.
Largely, yes. It's not just about physical health. It has a profound positive impact on mental and emotional well-being and self-perception. It's empowering.
That makes so much sense. Movement often has such a profound impact on mood and self-image. What about music? It's such an emotional medium. Can that help?
Absolutely. Music therapy has been observed to lead to a measurable increase in self-worth for many individuals in clinical settings. But even beyond formal therapy, simply listening to positive, uplifting music can be an incredibly effective self-help method.
How so?
It can enhance subjective well-being, boost your mood, and even interrupt patterns of rumination, that endless loop of negative thoughts. Just putting on some feel-good music can shift your state.
Yeah, music is powerful.
It is. However, there's an important caution here. Be mindful of the visual components or media sometimes associated with music videos, social media trends tied to songs.
Right, the ones that might encourage comparison.
Exactly, or promote unattainable lifestyles or body images. That kind of content can actually counteract the positive benefits of the music itself and end up lowering self-worth. So choose your music and maybe its context wisely.
So it's not just the sound, but the entire context around it. That's a really insightful nuance.
Okay.
And what about social connections and skills? We touched on relationships earlier.
Right. Building on that idea of authentic relationships, social skills training has also been shown to significantly increase self-worth, particularly in specific populations.
Okay.
For instance, programs like one called STARS Social Skills Training and Responsibilities have demonstrated positive impacts on adolescents with ADHD. These interventions help individuals navigate social interactions more effectively, build stronger connections, understand social cues better.
Which makes them feel more competent and accepted.
Precisely. Which in turn can profoundly boost their sense of self-worth and belonging. Feeling connected and capable socially is huge for self-worth.
All of these sound like really powerful tools for self-improvement and building a stronger sense of self. But when is it time to seek professional help? When do you know you've gone beyond what these self-help strategies can reasonably offer on their own? It can be hard to tell.
That's a really important and often difficult question for people to answer for themselves, absolutely. It's crucial to seek help from a qualified mental health professional, a therapist, counselor, psychologist, if a lack of self-acceptance is significantly disturbing your peace of mind on a consistent basis.
Like it's always there.
Yeah, if it's pervasive, if it's causing persistent symptoms of anxiety or depression, or if it's clearly interfering with your daily functioning things like your ability to eat properly, sleep well, concentrate at work, or engage in hobbies you used to enjoy.
When it starts impacting your life negatively.
Exactly. Also, if it's consistently harming your relationships, maybe leading to isolation or repeated conflict. These are all clear and compelling indicators that professional support could be incredibly beneficial, maybe even life-changing.
And it's okay to seek that help.
More than okay. It's a sign of strength, not weakness, to recognize you need support and to reach out for it.
Wow. We've really journeyed today, haven't we? From understanding that pervasive inner critic, that well-meaning but totally misguided drill sergeant in our minds.
Still trying to protect us in its own way.
Right. To embracing the really profound truth that your worth is inherent. It's not something you have to earn. It's just there.
We explored in detail how conditional self-worth, basing your value on ifs, can lead to such fragility, instability, and deep unhappiness.
Yeah, that house of cards analogy really stuck with me.
And we starkly contrasted that with the sense of freedom, the contentment, that can be found in embracing unconditional self-acceptance, accepting yourself as you are right now.
And through this deep dive, we've uncovered a wealth of practical, truly actionable strategies that you, listening right now, can begin implementing today.
Yeah, from the surprisingly simple act of talking back to or even naming your inner critic.
Professor Naggington.
Ha, exactly. To strategically stepping away from social media that makes you feel bad. To practicing genuine kindness towards others, which loops back to you. And perhaps most powerfully, cultivating that profound practice of self-compassion.
So as you integrate these insights into your own life, maybe just remember this core truth. You are worthy of love, understanding, and acceptance, just as you are right now, in this moment.
True happiness, that lasting kind, it doesn't come from constant external validation or that relentless, exhausting pursuit of some mythical perfection.
No, instead, it really seems to flourish from the acceptance and the kindness you intentionally extend to yourself from the inside out.
And as you reflect on this deep dive, maybe consider this thought for your own journey, something to mull over. If accepting yourself unconditionally really is the foundation for all positive change and lasting contentment, what is just one if statement, that little rule you have about your worth, maybe if I'm successful or if I'm thin or if others approve of me? What's just one of those that you could consciously choose to start releasing from your self-worth today?
Just loosen its grip a little.
Exactly. Think about that small but potentially incredibly brave step you might take.
Keep practicing these strategies. Keep being curious about your own rich inner world. And just continue on your journey of self-discovery. We really hope this deep dive empowers you to embrace your authentic self for lasting contentment and ultimately joy.